Welcome back to Drugstore in the World. Anime review, episode number 9. This I'm reviewing the 10th episode of the series, which is basically covering two particular potions, two particular medicines, the Power Potion and the Arcade Gene Fluid. Now, doesn't that book 2? As far as I can tell, no, it doesn't. It might have done book 3, but there's no information in the synopsis of the chapters, so I don't have any idea. The first portion is simply this. Like, you have the girls, basically, Vivi, Nuilla, and Mina, being put under boot camp training by Annabelle to improve muscle mass. Yep. And of course, Renji himself basically was in the sidelines, just watching all this. Nuilla basically just pulls him along because it's basically boring to see him watching. Okay, wanted to make a muscle inducer. Okay, so he allows him to go back, and of course she gets called out on basically talking down to people, and the fact she gives Renji special treatment. It's possibly hinted at that she's one of a few women in this series who actually has a thing for him. Paula, kind of yes. Elaine, I don't think so. No. I would say probably the only one who might have a thing for him in this series, who are very serious about him, is probably Annabelle. I would say Renu, the archer, the female archer, she's got a thing for him too, and Paula might have a thing for him too, obviously. So they make the muscle mass thing, and Nuilla drinks it, and she basically has got muscles. All of a sudden, because she drank like too much, and Mina tries it too, and she's like a bodybuilder. And she says that her abs are talking to her, and Nuilla basically thinks that her biceps are talking to her. Excuse me. And they argue about it, and of course, the thing wears off after an hour. And then, of course, Vivi, who's exhausted after all the training. Of course, they forget the fact that she's a water spirit. Yep. Oh, yeah, also Annabelle's calling people insects. Typical drill sergeant MO. Yeah, not really much this one for this first segment. The second one was a little more interesting. You have NG basically curious about improving his relationship with Nuilla. So create something to make her like him, basically, like just to be tolerant toward him. I mean, not immediately fall in love with him per se. I mean, he's already in love with her. He fell in love with her the first time he met her. So basically, he creates this fragrance where he mixes his own genes into it. And when she says to her, like, "Oh, is that Master?" No, it's just NG. She doesn't like it very much. And of course, then they do a guessing game because what Nuilla's good was smell, because she's a werewolf. Like, have it smell spirit with this very same fragrance. NG, who basically is induced with the genes of course, Renji. So Nuilla figures out, though, that the biggest game, A is basically tomato, B is NG, and C, of course, is Renji. She figured out that C is the master because B was panting. Probably because basically he liked the fact that Nuilla was sniffing him. Yeah, which basically Renji calls out being a pervert. And of course, well, he tries to basically continue holding her hand after basically just being nice to him, and then of course she smacks him, and apparently the relationship improved slightly, and that's pretty much it. Like, there's nothing really much this episode at all. It's like no big character stuff here, nothing. Like, okay, so it's almost like this episode was complete anime original, because there was nothing book 2 in here. Nope, there wasn't. I highly doubt book 1, so I'd say this episode is probably a complete anime original episode. That's just possible. The episode itself is just okay. I think the animation is fantastic. There's nothing really like character stuff, basically, for this episode. Not really, no. I would, well, kind of, yes. I'd say NG basically gets a little bit of character boost in here. I think the most interesting moment of this episode was Nuilla sitting on Renji's lap, and him having no problem with the fact this werewolf was sitting on his lap. Yeah, that's the most interesting thing I found about the episode, was that moment. Aside from that, not a very good episode. Sad to say. But I'm definitely going to watch next week. Okay, so that's a particular review. Next one, Comic Corner. Okay, next video. Bye.